Alrighty. Joseki knowledge? Shark, you here?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Did you look up this Joseki after the game?
No.
Okay, so the Joseki is either here or here.
Ah, yes, that one. Yes. Yep.
Because the problem is that they can block right here, and you have a cutting point, so they can very quickly make life
Yeah.
very easily. So if you go here, you can Hane, and then
Yeah.
also your eye shape is good. If you go here, you also give a monkey jump to their base, which is great. This one is definitely good, like when they're already pincered, like in the Chinese opening.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're familiar with. I just blanked on the move. Yeah. Boop boop. Sure you're familiar with this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The purpose of this is to peep the thing. It's especially good with the pincer. Um, so yeah, this is not a Joseki move. Now, the big mistake here isn't that you don't know it; it's that you didn't learn it after. So I always tell my students, um, whenever you encounter a Joseki you don't know, you should
Mm-hmm.
go look it up after the game when you review. That way, you're not like overwhelming yourself with Joseki knowledge and researching things that don't come up, but you don't not learn Joseki at all.
Right.
So in this case, you encountered a Joseki. It's relative to your level because you played against it. So that would be a perfect Joseki to learn. And since you don't know it, I would say always look it up when you don't know it, especially if you encountered it in a game. Okay. So even more fun. So let's go back to fundamentals. Did you recognize that you didn't know the Joseki in the game?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what to do when you don't know Joseki or when the situation goes unique?
Well, if I don't know the opening, I just try to do my best. Try to make an eye. Try to keep my group safe, I guess.
Right. So here you don't know the Joseki, so you need to think back to basics.
Right.
Do you have a base?
I'm
Do you
starting
have?
in there, I
Okay,
think.
so starting to, but you don't have one yet.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So before you Tanuki, I would make a base.
Okay.
Because what you don't want to do is Tanuki something and you don't even know what the Joseki is, and then you Tanuki it and you don't even know what the result is. So it's
Right.
like a good way to get beat up. If your opponent knows a Joseki and you don't, and you're leaving it, and you don't know what's going to happen, then that's a very dangerous place to be. So what you do when you don't know things is you check one, the cutting points, and two, the bases. So your base and flex base. So you could go here to try to make some eyes in the corner while also peeping, or you can go here to just make your base.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can go three as well. But either way, what I would want to see is you actively making a base and protecting any cutting points if it's a situation that you don't know. Bases and cuts, those are the basics. And if you don't know what you're doing, just fix your problems and move on. Like once you have a base, you can move on.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ignore something and you don't have that base, then and you don't know the result, then what are you going to do when your opponent just bullies you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then you just don't know what to do because you don't know the variations or the follow-ups. So it's very dangerous to Tanuki without a base. Okay. For black, I think this is very is Uro here?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Yeah. I think this is perfectly fine, but this is only fine up until single digit Q. At single digit Q, I teach my students to play aggressive defense. So or to start thinking about aggressive defense. So at double digit Q, it's just like defend yourself, don't die. That's great. But at single digit Q, we need to think, okay, I can defend myself while also unsettling white. So this would be much more effective here. Like maybe not this one, but one for two would be much more effective. You could make immediate life where you could extend now. That's fine. But if there's an option between making a base versus making a smaller base, but it also hurts your opponent, usually we pick the one that hurts your opponent. Does that make
Yes.
sense? So I think this one would be more effective because now if you make a base, white can't make the base at S18. White has to make the base up top. Now it's true that white, could make the base up top anyway, but why give him the option of peeping your base while living? You could just control the whole situation. So I think this is a very important move to remember.
Okay.
Okay. Why high? Low is Joseki. Or normal Joseki. So whenever we go abnormal, we usually have a particular reason. So what is your reason?
I think that I saw, at least I remember the Josek like that. Maybe there is some variation of.
I think this is a variation when you're putting like strong emphasis on the center or when you're attacking or something. But most of the time, like 90% of the time, it's here or here, like one space or two space. If the idea is just settle, you get Sente. You have a strong, you got 15 points at the corner in Sente. So it's pretty nice for you. This is a Joseki that works almost every time. So whenever you do something different than that, you want to have a very like good reason for it. So whenever for example, if you want to learn this move, I would look up and say, what situations did pros play this move? Like what was happening? Was this already pincered, not putting more pressure? Was there a moyo I'm trying to reduce? Like what is the condition? Like this one just doesn't seem interesting. For me, there's no reason not to play the simple move. It just works. Okay. I prefer low until we're focusing on the center, and this is not a center board. So same here, like you make your base on the third line, not the fourth line. If you go fourth line, it's because you have a particular reason. Not that fourth line is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I just want you to understand that third line is safer. Fourth line is special, extra meaning for the center or something. And this is not a very center area oriented board, so it's like, why are we doing it? Why are we defining the basics? Whenever you do something that's defying the basics, I want you to know why you're doing it. And this is where we get into that trap of copying strong players or pros and stuff. Just because they do it doesn't mean you should copy it if you don't understand the why. You want to figure out that why before you just defy the basics of bases on the third line. Because bases on the third line are safe, easy. Okay, and here you actually lost Sente for it. So because you went high here, now you have to bring it down. Whereas if it was here and he went here, now you can do whatever you wanted. You could go bully him here, you could go 3-3, you do whatever you want. But now if you end up having to fix your own move, then it means you don't quite understand it. And you don't want to lose Sente for your own stuff. I don't think this is the biggest move. I think we could bully white up here, or go approach right over here. I think this is not the interesting place to be. Good on base there. Do we want to approach this one or do we want to approach this one? Because let's also change the color. Does white want to go here or does white want to go here? This one's 2 fourth lines. This is a fourth and a third line. So probably this gap is a little bit more interesting than here, but this also bullies the corner a little bit. So it's not like this is bad. Just basics wise, we want to think about the lines. This is interesting though. I do like this one, but I think if we're just thinking about basics, this is probably more basic. So a lot of players think this is more solid. This one's more solid. It looks like, oh, there's more Aji because there's a peep, but this one has even more Aji because there's a second line and a second line. So it actually has more Aji than the 1-point jump. Because now, when they try to do this same thing, you see that you have a 1 space jump and you're on the second line and they're not. So let's compare it to here. This technically leads to the same shape as here, but you can see like the order can be slightly different sometimes. Like here, maybe I go here. Here I can't just go to the second line. Does that make sense? It's a slight difference that makes this one a little bit easier to handle.
Yeah,
so I usually
that became an issue, that corner, later in the game because of that move there. Yeah.
Everyone loves a kick. I just don't understand it. AI says it's okay, so I can't. I used to like lecture my students about not kicking unless you're pincered, but now AI says it's okay, and I'm just like, I'm not allowed to lecture them about it anymore. And I'm like, everyone's kicking, and I don't like it. It rubs me wrong because I learned that this kick is bad without a pincer, and then AI is like, no, it's fine. Now I just like don't know how to explain it. But everyone loves kicking, and I really hate it. It rubs me the wrong way.
What do you recommend for that instead of kicking?
Usually I either play a Knight's move or I slide. Those are my two options, or Tanuki, because you can Tanuki an approach technically, but probably not at this level. But usually,
Yes.
It's simpler. Kick, I think, is fine because it's not like you can't handle this if you know the Josekis. But most of the people I see, most of the Q players that I see play this, my students and stuff that I see play this, don't know all the variations in here. It's like, why are you giving yourself Aji that you can't handle? But okay. Normally, locally the shape is here if they get a stone right here, but and that's because of the cutting point. That kind of thing. Okay. So because that exists, usually the local shape is fixed. So if you're not fixing, it's like, okay, I can't really say not fixing's a mistake, but I do want to ask, like, what did you do instead of fixing a basic shape? What did you do? Is this super interesting, super exciting? Is it really big? Is this really valuable? If not, then probably just fix their basic shape. Because now this actually becomes pretty playable. It's pretty solid. It's a pretty solid move. If you want speed and stuff, I guess, but I think this should be fine for this level, at least for a while. Okay, let's see. This is normally not the way you approach a large shape like this. Normally it's A or B and sometimes C. But this particular one has a diagonal right there, so let's see how this affects it. I think it's still the same principle. I think I'd still play B or A. The reason is after I play right here, like, yeah, after black plays this, you don't really have a good follow-up. There's no way to cut. There's no way to cut that. There's no Aji. So usually it's A, B, or C for that large shape. Don't make this exchange. Make this exchange first if that's what you're gonna do. This one is harder to ignore than this one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And this one's always Sente. So if the order I would play it is this way. But even then, we're bumping our head. So what is? Oh, see, he didn't even respond to it. So what are we after? I was thinking you were gonna go like right here or something, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're trying to get here. I guess I'm Mayo.
Right.
Okay. So probably here. Like, we want to think largest framework. Who has a big Mayo? If whites is the, excuse me, if whites is the big one, then go just reduce. Like, what does this do? I guess it builds the bottom. So does that mean ours is the bigger one? Are we looking at ours? What is the goal? Like, maybe we can go like right here. Or something like that, or like that. You know, if ours is the bigger one, let's build ours. But okay, so this one's kind of building, kind of reducing. Maybe here would be a little bit more effective though. Let's see what we're after. So white changed. So so white changes mine. So probably just go here. If you're gonna change your mind, this one's more solid than this one. Because that's a double peep.
Yep.
Technically it's a double tiger's mouth, but you know. Technically this shape isn't as solid as this one, because this is I think I'm wrong. I might be wrong. Maybe here. Maybe just here. Yeah, this feels better. This feels better. Yeah. Anyway, I just want a more solid connection.
Yep.
It can come to bite you later if you don't. I like this cap. It means you know this shape. Yes. I'm assuming you know this was going to be a response. Because if you don't know this shape right here, then this is a very ugly shape. But yeah, if you know it, then yeah, I like it. Reducing on the line, very nice. Usually I recommend shoulder hits. Check those first, rather than playing just in the center. That way you have a little bit more control, a little bit more Sente, and a little bit more expected outcome. This one can be unexpected outcomes, so it's harder to read and understand. So I usually try to recommend simpler shapes until you add on more as you get stronger. So usually I would start with the shoulder hips here rather than just on the line. It's just a little bit easier to read because the caps are a little bit more difficult to read, but not like it's bad. I really don't like this one. This one I really don't like. You're trying to play defense because you played a reduction. He's trying to cut you off. So you ran away with a not just a knight's move, but a large knight's move.
Mhm.
When you run, whenever you play defense, you really need to watch your connections. It's super important to watch your connections because if you don't, you can get in a lot of trouble. So immediately, my first thought is, can I cut this somehow? Can I cut? Like, can I push and cut? Can I push and cut? Can I push and cut? Like, I would be checking all the cutting points. That's my first thought as black. So black checked the cutting point here. That's an elephant's eye, so also very cuttable. But if you're gonna run 1-point jumps, diagonals, more solid shapes, this can get you in a lot of trouble because you are in black's position and you're leaving cutting points.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous. Not impossible, but very dangerous. Usually the response to an elephant's eye. Do you know what an elephant's eye is?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, elephant's eye is a diagonal 1-point jump. The response to an elephant is a knight.
Oh.
And here you could sacrifice 1 stone by squeezing. This is bad shape for a different reason, but like you can see, like it's very easy to squeeze and sacrifice 1 stone. So the response to this is a knight. If you play the elephant and don't know the knight, you end up in broken shape like this, which is very bad shape. Yeah, there's no way to handle this. So just start connecting and jumping and running away, defending your weak group. This is already blocked. That's already blocked. So this move doesn't make sense because you've already blocked the points and you really need to be playing defense. So I think Shark, here you're making a bit of a mistake because you don't understand that you're supposed to be focusing on defense right now. You're playing at a reduction. You're in black's area. You should be playing defense. Why here? What is this move? You didn't understand the elephant, or did you?
Well, I want to try to defend the elephant.
What? So are you looking at this one? So you didn't know that 5 gave a double tiger's mouth.
Yes, I also lost move then.
Because you played the elephant's eye earlier, and I thought it was because you recognized that you had the double tiger's mouth thanks to J3, which was good, is correct, and it's good. But if you don't recognize that you can't be cut, then why did you play an elephant's eye, which is a cuttable shape? That makes sense. So this move really doesn't make sense to me because you played the elephant with the confidence that you're not going to be cut, but now you're defending a cutting point. So why did you play the elephant in the first place? Why not play a knight's move? The elephant's clearly better if it's not cuttable. But if it's cuttable, then you just lose. Either you get cut now or you lose Sente later. Here, you're not going to lose. You don't have to fix this later. But here, you lost an entire turn because of a shape that 1 wasn't cuttable and 2 that you played. So you played your own shape, and yet you have to defend your own move. That doesn't make sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're reducing.
Just a reminder of time.
Okay, I would say, okay, so conclusion of this one, Joseki knowledge for both, and cutting points in the center. Like the elephant's eye, knight's moves, cutting points, basically. Just cutting point shapes.